The return to Africa does not work for everybody, unfortunately. While many of us harbor the desire to come back home after spending decades away from home, for a select few of us, it doesn't always work out. Over the years, I've met quite a few people who have lived in diaspora for many, many years, some 20, 30, 40 years, and have attempted to move back to Africa. And unfortunately for them, it didn't work out and they had to come back. Good morning, family. Welcome to this magnificent SIAYA house. And truly, 10 minutes is not enough for me to show you everything you need to see in this house. And so look out for part 2. I'm going to do my best to show you the beauty of this incredible home. To the extent I can. Usually my videos are 10 to 15 minutes long, so I can't pack everything in one video, but I'm going to show you as much as I can in today's video. And then the piece that is left is coming up in part 2. Now, this incredible home was actually built by a returnee couple, a family who generously invited us to their home to share time with them. We spent the afternoon with them to learn and to just listen to some of the lessons that they've picked up over the years. And so again, to all the families that open up their homes for us, I can't thank you enough for the privilege to allow us to come to your home and just inspire others and learn from you as much as we also share information whenever we visit. So anytime I visit folks in their homes, I get the opportunity to learn, but at the same time, I'm happy to share, and most of what I share happens off camera. So the majority of the folks that open up their homes are very private, so you will not see most of them, and you'd not even know a whole lot about them from this, but they let me show as much as possible. So if you're interested, please let us know. If you would like for us to come visit you and learn from your experience, let us know. So this afternoon, I want you to join me in exploring this incredible, quiet, ultra-modern farmhouse that has basically everything. I mean, everything man can ever need in this corner of the earth. So welcome to SIAYA, friends. If you're new to our channel, we come from Karating in Kisumu in Western Kenya, but we film all over the country. We travel everywhere and anywhere that we possibly can travel to. But most of our videos are shot in Karating, which is where I live. If you're new, we talk about everything that affects diasporans, whether it's coming back, whether it's construction, land, and things like that. And so one of the things that I do lately is to connect people with the right experts. So if you're in need of land, we've got folks that can help. If you're in need of construction, we've got experts that can do that. My job is to evaluate your project, connect you with the right people, and supervise to make sure you get what you want. So if you're interested, my number is posted in the channel earlier. Hit me up on WhatsApp. So we also take the time to learn from diasporans. So if you've got really great fundis that have worked for you, we'd love to hear from them, because we only recommend fundis that have worked with diasporans, whose work has been verified, and especially the ones that have physically visited. So come with me, join me this morning to take a look at this very cool home, while we talk about the issue of people being trapped in diaspora. So some of you have heard me from my past videos talk about how tough it is to live in diaspora in perpetuity. It's very tough. Yet at the same time, returning can be very, very challenging for some of us. There are many people who have returned successfully and are doing really well. Some people are struggling. So it's not a single story. And that's what I want to cover this morning. So in this video, I want to talk with you specifically about some of the challenges we face with regard to the decision to return home. So I will share 4 things. First, I will talk about some of the different circumstances that influence our pathways to coming back home, the dilemmas we often run into, how these dilemmas are resolved, and most importantly, some of the lessons I've learned. So that hopefully for people who are still navigating the process as we are, maybe you can pick up one or two things that may be helpful. We are not fully moved into diaspora, so we go back and forth. I spend a lot of time at home, but also spend time in California. Hopefully, eventually, I'll be mostly based in Kenya. So let's start with the different circumstances that influence how we decide or when we decide to return. Number one, many of us who've lived in diaspora for 10, 20, 30, 40 years are simply just worn out. After those many years, you've just had enough and you just need to come back home. Because spending long periods of time away from home really takes a toll on you, and you don't know what that feels until you're in that spot. Then, of course, you have the obvious problems to do with weather. I hear this a lot, especially those who live in Europe. I hear England has terrible weather, or different parts of the UK has terrible weather. That really takes a number on you after a while. And then for some reason, I feel like mental health issues are more of a big deal when we are in diaspora, in part because of the isolation. So I know a lot of us experience quite a bit of anxiety, stress, and depression and all that in ways that we don't back in Kenya. So mental health at some point really becomes an issue that pushes you towards coming back. And then, of course, we have the typical hostilities of living with people who don't care about Africans or Black people. And I've talked about these in my previous videos, so I won't explore that again today. But yes, some of us live in very hostile environments, especially right now for those of us who live in the US. There are certain places that are really hostile. And then many of us, when we come to diaspora, we always have the goal of hoping to do what we need to do and then eventually returning home. So the desire to actually come back home gets stronger as we live longer in diaspora. When you're still new, you're so excited, you barely think about home in terms of returning. But the longer you live in diaspora, the stronger your desire to go back. And that is a very common experience amongst us. And in part because many of us, after 10, 20, 30 years, there's really very little that is left for you to explore in diaspora. You've traveled, you've had fun, you've worked, you've gone to school, and so there's really little new experience that you're still looking forward to as compared to somebody who's just new. Then for a few of us, politics becomes an issue, particularly when you have conservatives in charge. For some of us, it's a tough world when conservatives are in charge. And we've seen, personally, I've seen many of these circles because I've been through almost 4 or 5 different presidents here. So that becomes an issue. And there are many other factors that I've mentioned in my previous videos that I won't repeat today. So then what are some of the dilemmas that we run into as a result of these issues? Number one of the most common issues that for couples, you might find that the man and the wife are not on the same page as to when or if they're going to return. Typically, it's the case that men are more than ready to return, but the women are not always ready. That's a very, very common experience. The second issue, of course, is children. Then you're looking at issues with work. And then there are lots of diasporans who are not established at home, especially for those of us who've been gone for decades. Many of us don't even have homes, have very little connections. And so those issues become a problem when you're thinking about returning. Then you have the fear of unknown. And in some cases, actually, our family members are not comfortable with us returning because to them, it almost seems like we have failed in diaspora. That's why we're returning. So they wonder what would the society think of them when their kids are coming back. So again, with these dilemmas, there are different ways that folks resolve them. The first one is when you're thinking about couples who are not on the same page, where the woman wants to stay and the guy wants to return. I've seen cases where the guy just decides to say, hey, I'm done. They just go and resign and pack their bags and leave. I actually know at least 2 folks who just left their wives and kids here and just moved on with their lives at home. I've never seen a woman do that. No, maybe one case. But I've seen men who simply just walk away and go back home. Now, in some cases, what many folks end up doing is that you split your time so that the guy spends way more time at home than in the US. And that's kind of the position that I'm in because I'm very flexible. My wife is not. So I end up being more at home than I am in the US. And in other cases, what folks end up doing is they end up convincing the partner who wants to stay. Over time, they convince the other partner to eventually come. And one way to do that is to make home very comfortable. so that when folks come back at home, they are missing very little in diaspora. And then with kids, sometimes it's just a matter of a gradual move. It may not be possible right away, and other people do homeschooling, or in some cases, most people actually wait till when the kids are done with school. Now, there are quite a few other cases that are not really exceptional, and these are cases where folks decide to just move back to Kenyan school and send kids to Kenyan schools, typically international schools. And for the most part, it works just fine. I've seen people take kids to schools that offer different kinds of curriculum, whether it's the British, the American, the Kenyan one, and it works just fine. A few other folks do homeschooling, which for me is a no-no, because I know that is not just one thing I would ever commit to. But when it comes to work, here are some of the things that folks do. Number one, we always encourage folks that as much as you can, invest at home so that your financial life is not really tied to being in diaspora. So if you can make money at home to the point where you are comfortable, then it's easy to actually let go of the work that we do in diaspora. And then the great majority of us end up signing up for work that is flexible, especially work that can be done online. So if you are able to get that, then it's really easy to transition fully into Kenya. And then when it comes to establishing yourself, most people already know this. Make sure you build a house. And when you're building a house, it does not have to be anything grandiose. All you need is a house that has the basic comforts that you have in the Western world. Whether you're talking about indoor plumbing, hot water, high-speed internet, reliable power, and you can achieve that, like the ones you're looking at right now. You can absolutely achieve that at home, such that when you come back to the village, there's almost no difference between your life in the village and your life in diaspora in terms of modern comforts. And that is also a very powerful way of getting the kids and your partners to buy into coming to the village. Now, other folks have all kinds of fears about returning home, whether they worry that they would be robbed or so many things would happen, or just the fear of unknown. So I tell folks, if you have that, just come home as often as you can, and possibly at different times of the year. Come home and you realize many of the things you worry about are really not even a problem. Things like driving. I have very many friends within my circle who would never drive in Kenya. Some of them actually are folks who used to drive in Kenya, but now they can't drive. And I think part of it is just not feeling comfortable. The more often you come home and the more you allow yourself to try things, the more many of those fears sort of disappear. Even for me, initially, I used to be so worried about issues of safety in the village and all that. But I've done this for now almost 5 years, and all of those fears are gone. So come home often and come at different times. That will help you resolve some of those fears. And with families, sometimes I say, do you, and the world will adjust. You can't always satisfy everybody. So if your family thinks differently, and family I mean the extended family, thinks differently about you coming back home, you do you. You can't always satisfy everybody. So besides what I've shared up there, here are some of the lessons I've learned. That the decision to return home is one that is mostly for you. We are the ones who are born at home. We are the ones who are really passionate about coming back home. This is the one thing that you can do for yourself. And I hope you get to the point where you are willing to accept that it's okay to do it for yourself. Well,